Right, cholesterol, welcome back. Cholesterol and low carb, high fat diets. The first thing that everybody ever asks is if it's a low carb, high fat diet, high saturated fats, surely the cholesterol is going to rise in our bloods and the cholesterol is going to go and sit on the arteries and kill us. That's just a crazy move to have low carb, high fat diet. What are we thinking? Now, I'd like to say cholesterol has been demonized, it's true. Cholesterol at the end of the day does cause the heart attack. In other words, there is a plaque of cholesterol and that does shoot emboli off. And those emboli do go and sit in a coronary artery and give you a heart attack. This is true. But what we need to do is we need to give a holistic look at why is cholesterol then around? If it's such a bad thing, why is cholesterol around? Why can't we spend the millions and millions of dollars that we do on artificially lowering this cholesterol? If we look at cholesterol, let's look at the functions of cholesterol. Let's get a list of functions of cholesterol, and you can make up your own minds whether cholesterol is such a bad thing or not. There's four big functions that it has in the body. One, all cell membranes need cholesterol to survive. All cell membranes. Two, the immune system cannot function properly without cholesterol. Vitamin D, the vitamin D that creates our bones and keeps us healthy. In fact, all the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K all need cholesterol or get carried by cholesterol. So very important for that function. And the fourth function is all the sex hormones. In other words, they cannot be produced without proper cholesterol. No progesterone, no estrogen, no testosterone. So these are pretty important functions. In fact, the liver only produces two things on a regular basis: glucose and cholesterol. Now, if the liver was designed to produce cholesterol, how can it be so bad? It must be. Well, it isn't bad. We've got four incredibly important functions that it does in the body. So wouldn't it be more prudent to say, well, maybe it's not just cholesterol. Maybe that's not the full story. Cholesterol is maybe high or going to places for a reason. Maybe the immune system has been switched on by too much gluten, too much lactose, too much sugars in the body. Maybe there's some breakdown of cell membranes somewhere in the body, an inflammatory process or an infection or inflammation, or autoimmune disease, which chases up the need for more cholesterol. Maybe the sex hormones are down and all the and you're osteoporotic and this and that because of a chronic cortisol that has depleted all those things, and the cholesterol is there in an attempt to fix these things. So basically what I'm saying is that be careful of demonizing cholesterol. In other words, blaming the firemen for the fire, blaming the traffic officers for the accident. Yes, every time there's a fire, there's a whole lot of firemen outside running around doing their thing. Every time we see an accident, there's traffic officers around and showing around the traffic. So we make the immediate assumption that the fireman must be causing the fire, because every time I see a fire, there's a fireman. And every time I see an accident, there's a traffic officer. So if we get less traffic officers and less firemen, we're going to have less fires and less accidents. No, not true, I'm afraid. So we're making a correct observation, but an absolutely incorrect assumption without enough knowledge about why things are like they are. So should we demonize cholesterol? No, we must look at it differently. And that plaque that eventually killed you, that one that Ansel Keys saw that said, well, that plaque, it goes straight from the gut right to the artery and kills you. That's just simply not true. It goes through a metabolic process, and the body decides how much cholesterol it needs to do its functions: cell membranes, immune system, sex hormones, vitamin D. It decides those things, not how much you ingest, but how much you need. And let's look at that plaque. There's a plaque. If he had looked a millimeter further or a half a millimeter further than the plaque, he would have seen that there's an inflamed artery. And that inflamed artery is caused by chronic inflammatory markers that have been put in. Sugar. Sugar has caused the inflammation. The high carb, low fat diet has caused the inflammation. The inflammation has caused the body to say we need more cholesterol produced so that we can go and plug the hole. The inflammatory artery swells up so much that it tears on the inside. Those little tears, those micro tears are bad. They create small amounts of bleeding, and this needs to be plugged. It needs to be plugged by cholesterol. The body produces the cholesterol because it's part of cell membrane growth, it's part of immune system. It goes there, plugs the little tear, and helps you survive. Unfortunately, if you keep the inflammatory process going, the plaque is just going to build up more and more, and in more places and in more times, and therefore have more chance of shooting emboli off and giving you strokes and heart disease. So just remember that we are busy blaming the firemen for the fire, the traffic officers for the accident, rather than looking at the process. Cholesterol, the body decides how much cholesterol must be produced on a daily basis, so it is really relatively independent of how much you get in. If you get the amount that you get in has got nothing to do with how much is sitting on your artery. The amount that's sitting on your artery is dependent on the inflammatory processes that are on the go in your body at that time, and the inflammatory processes are caused by too much foreign foods that we're eating, too much sugar, too much gluten, too much lactose. So if that's the perspective of cholesterol. So cholesterol really isn't the bad guy. Cholesterol is trying to fix the stuff that we've caused to ourselves. So, join me for the next video when we get on to the next phase of our less is more. We've now sort of finished with the L of less, the low carb, high fat diet. I think you are more or less au fait with the switching off your GPS, buying yourself a vape. In other words, getting rid of the carbs and doing more proteins and vegetables and saturated fats. And we're getting on to the E of less, which is eating window. This is probably one of the most important and exciting parts of this whole process, is that you need to squash up your eating window, and in the form of intermittent fasting. So what we need to do is, in the next video, we're going to start dismantling what is intermittent fasting, how do we do it, and why it's a good thing.